Hi everyone, it's Paul from Small Town Movie Critic here with my movie review for The Batman. Now my movie review is a little different from the other movie reviews as I am a screenwriter, and so I'll give you a screenwriter's perspective on how I felt The Batman was as a movie. I'm also going to first read to you what my review was for, as you can see in my title, I'm a Small Town Movie Critic, so I'll read to you my critique that I'm going to send to the paper. And it goes like this. So I remember in high school going to see the first Batman movie in the theater in Milan, which was near my hometown in Davenport. My friend and I arrived just in time for the screening so we could sit in the front row. The seats were terrible, but the movie did make up for that. We laughed, we cheered, and we clapped. It was a fun experience as the movie was very much over the top. Later in life, I really have come to enjoy the Christopher Nolan vision of Batman as well as for his storytelling prowess. So I was pretty excited to hear about what was next for The Dark Knight. When I heard that Robert Pattinson from Twilight fame was cast as Batman, I was pretty excited about that. Now, as I was beginning to go into the theater, I was asking myself, would it be as good as the Nolan trilogy, or would it be a step back like George Clooney's Batman? We all remember that one, right? Now, according to IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, the Batman takes place when Riddler, a sadistic serial killer, begins murdering key political figures in Gotham. Batman is forced to investigate the city's hidden corruption and questions his family's involvement. Now, Matt Reeves and Peter Craig wrote the screenplay. They both have written some pretty good movies in the past, such as Let Me In, War for the Planet of the Apes, The Hunger Games, Mockingjays Part 1 and Part 2. And it shows in the film. I mean, overall, I was pretty pleased with the writing. They did a pretty good job in that they really gave us the essence. And this is probably the first film to date that really captures the essence of Gotham City. I really enjoyed how they made me see the city as a character in and of itself. They also wrote some very compelling characters as well. The thing I appreciated the most was they were not cookie-cutter tropes of the Batman characters we have seen in the past. Catwoman and Penguin feel familiar, but have slight tweaks in their stories, which I think allows us as the audience to experience them in a new light. For Batman, they played up his detective side, as this is the one side of Batman we don't often get to focus on. But don't worry, there's plenty of good action set pieces for those who want to see action. I love the directions that they went to with the Batmobile. That was pretty sweet. The car chase they had in the film was very visually satisfying. And I thought the musical score, though a little repetitive at times, was as epic as something we've heard from other Batman composers such as Danny Elfman. Now, as good as the movie is, there's some glaring flaws in the third act which really took a lot of the wins out of the sails in terms of agency and the plot for me. And I think I know what they were going for, but for me it just simply flops. Also, this movie was too long. Coming in at almost 3 hours. It doesn't drag too much, but I could see at least there's a scene or two that left me asking, why didn't they cut this? Overall, I would give this movie a B, which means for me, a good movie. I really appreciated this new direction and vision for the character. Writers Matt Reeves and Peter Craig did a wonderful job in creating an immersive world. I really felt like I got to know Gotham City better than any other movies in this franchise. The characters they created were often also not carbon copies from other Batman movies, which I appreciated, and I thought all the actors did an amazing job. Now, my personal favorite was Jeffrey Wright, who plays Lieutenant James Gordon. I could really feel the chemistry between him and Batman, played by Robert Pattinson. The visuals were done well, and for the most part, I thought the score was good, if not a little repetitive. My biggest beef with the movie and why I didn't give it an A was how they handled the climax of the movie. And this will be a little vague as I don't want to spoil the movie, but as they tried an approach from the movie Seven, and in my opinion, it fell flat. In addition, at almost 3 hours, I felt the movie was a little too long. They could have easily cut out a half an hour, which could have made the movie and the pacing a little better. I would definitely see this movie in the theater, but for a matinee price. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little bit of a movie review. And my next section, we're going to get into why exactly I had a beef with the third act. So if you want to go, if you haven't seen the film, I suggest you see the film before we get to the spoiler section. So you've all had your fair warning. I will flash up spoilers for about 5 seconds. All right, so let's discuss my biggest beef of the movie, which is that third act. So in the third act, where I think the film drops the ball, is when the Riddler is captured and is put into prison. And then you sort of have this moment where Batman sort of figures out the plot and goes to, he's beginning to figure out the plot. So he's talking to Riddler and he goes back to his house to sort of figure out what the next end game for it was. And so that end game is that Riddler has set up some vans that blow up the seawall that sort of force everybody into this big arena because it's on higher ground. And in the arena, he's got a bunch of his men set up as sharpshooters to kill everybody. So the reason I didn't think that was a good plot was because the Riddler actually goes to jail before this. And so he's out of the movie. So your main antagonist is not a part of the climax, to speak of. I mean, he's got his henchmen. But from a movie perspective and a story perspective, that nothing's going to happen to the Batman. Nothing bad is really going to happen to the Batman because it's henchmen, And I get it, we're like, well, the main villain's never going to win anyway. But you don't feel that sense of peril when you have a main villain involved. And so I think Reeves and Craig's decision to take out the Riddler at this point was a bad decision. I think they really should have left him in and maybe had a henchman take the fall for him or something along those lines. And maybe just even change the plan or something like that so that the Riddler is more directly involved with it. And I think that would have raised the stakes, because I felt after they captured the Riddler, I felt everything sort of went down. I felt the stakes went down. And like I said, the grand plan didn't feel really like a grand plan to me. I think some of his other plans that he had about murdering people were more terrifying. This one just seemed really lackluster. It didn't seem as bizarre, or maybe I didn't understand what they were really going for. Now, the reason why I compare it to the movie Seven is because I sort of look at the tone and sort of the way that the film was made, and it looks very similar to Seven. If it's in Seven, if you haven't seen it has Kevin Spacey, Brad Pitt, and Morgan Freeman in there. And so what happens near the end of the movie is that the Kevin Spacey character gets captured or turns himself in. And there's this tense scene at the end where they go out to this box, or they go out to this coordinates because something big is going to happen. And you're all on pins and needles. What's going to happen? What's coming? So this driver comes up and you don't know if he's got an accomplice. You don't know if there's a bomb in there. You don't know what's going on. And at the end of the day, it turns out to be the head of Brad Pitt's character's wife. And he ends up killing Kevin Spacey's character. And so that was a wonderful story element and surprise, and it really you didn't really see it coming. And I think they were trying to do something like that with the Riddler, but they didn't. There wasn't sort of any conflict within Batman to do something that wasn't really out of his character. He did anything really bizarre, or he did something to push people away. It for me, that sort of falls flat, because you take the main antagonist out of the role. You don't give him any agency. You sort of, like I said, you sort of lower the what Batman is up against. And to be honest, the henchman scenes, you could have easily substituted any of the mafia scenes for that or anything like that, because Batman just tears through them all. He doesn't have a problem. He has a problem with one guy who has an elephant gun who shoots him, and then for some reason he's dizzy. That's the other thing that sort of that took me out of the experience of the film, was just how many times Batman got shot. I mean, what is his suit made of? I mean, I was like, okay, it's a superhero movie. Yeah, I get it. But there's like, people are shooting like machine guns at him, and this guy shoots a literal elephant rifle at him, and it just stuns him. You don't see any blood. You don't see anything. And, like when he got shot when Batman gets shot with this elephant gun and, totters off the edge, you knew exactly what was going to come. Catwoman comes up and saves the day, and then she gets jumped on by, I think, maybe the same guy, I can't remember. And then Batman goes up and starts beating him up, and then Gordon and Catwoman have to pull him off, and the guy, the guy at the end goes, the guy that he was beating up goes, "I am vengeance," which is what Batman has been saying, and it makes Batman sort of think about how he's been living his life and doing what he's been doing, which I think is an interesting bit of storytelling, and it sort of begins to see Batman having an arc over this movie, but Batman doesn't really have an arc in this movie at all. And so I think what they were saying is there's 2 other movies, and so we're going to hopefully see a different sort of character arc throughout all of these movies with Batman. So what did you think of The Batman? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? What do you think about the story? What do you think about that 3rd act? Do you think it was bad that they took the Riddler out, or did it make sense, or did it not matter? So leave your comments in the section below. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I have other stuff for screenwriters as well too. If you're looking into getting screenwriting, I have videos on what is your best screenwriting software. I have a video little collection on how to begin to take your idea from idea to first draft, to help you make movies just like The Batman, and movies that people will like and appreciate. Again, like I said, I thought this was a good movie. A B is not a bad score. And so I know some people might say, well, you didn't give it an A. An A for me is really excellent storytelling. And they did a good job on this. And that's why it's a B. B is good. So B is also for Batman. Well, until the next video, have a blessed day and keep on writing.